See, what's really interesting about business is that it's going to force you to become a person that's capable of achieving those things. So you don't earn $1 million, you become a person capable of earning $1 million. And the beauty of that is, well, the byproduct's $1 million, but the secondary byproduct is the ability to do it again, and again, and again. If we look back at my agency journey from when I first got started, living in a tiny apartment with no money, living on rice and beans, and wondering if I was even going to be able to survive, much less my agency, and you fast forward to the person that I've had to become to build multiple seven-figure agencies, make millions of dollars, impact thousands of lives, it's completely different. I'm almost unrecognizable for the person that I was back then. And all of that I can credit to trying to grow, trying to provide as much value as possible, trying to impact as many lives in as positive a way as possible, trying to grow the agency, to help more people, and then to share. So there's a lot of talk online right now about building a one-person business or being a solopreneur, or essentially staying small rather than trying to grow a big and mighty empire. And what I'm here today to tell you is that while this sounds really good on the surface, and it's definitely something that I've bought into in the past, it's probably one of the most damaging and dangerous mindsets that you can have, at least when it comes to making more money and helping more people and building a business and a life that you're actually proud of and that you actually enjoy waking up to every morning and fulfilling your purpose and becoming, well, essentially as big or as great or as capable as you're capable of becoming. So I'm not here to tell you that if that really is all that you want, to be a solopreneur, a one-person business, to just keep things as small as possible, then by all means, go for it. But if you're using that as a scapegoat or as a crutch, as a sort of a bit of a cheat in order to stop yourself from really trying as hard as you want, because you can't really be disappointed if you set the bar nice and low, well, I'm gonna argue that this is gonna lead just to frustration and a lack of fulfillment, ultimately just terribly bad results. Rather, the alternative is to setting the bar high, and setting the bar so high that you're forced to become someone that you never even knew you were capable of becoming. You're forced to do things that you previously believed were completely impossible, and you end up achieving things along the way that your previous self could have only ever dreamed of. So if staying small and operating a solopreneur business is your thing and that really is all you want, then by all means, go for it. This video is clearly not for you. But if there's even a slight bit in you that thinks, oh, maybe I'm playing it safe, maybe I'm using this as a bit of a hedge that's holding me back and not really sort of allowing myself to fulfill my potential, then you might want to stick with me, because I'm going to give you 10 reasons why growing a business as big as possible is in your best interest as well as that of humanity's, and why there are 10 reasons why staying small may be the very worst thing that you can do. And I've got my trusty markers here today. So we're gonna go with blue for all the good reasons of why you want to grow a business, and we're gonna go red for all the reasons why staying small is possibly the worst thing that you could do. So let's get going. All right, so the very first thing is maximizing potential. Big goals are going to require you to become a bigger person. Setting the bar really, really high is going to force you to learn new skills, to adapt to different environments, to take on new responsibilities, to essentially become a person that's capable of achieving these goals. You see, we don't really do these goals, we don't really do the work for the sake of getting the work done. We do the work so that we become a person capable of actually achieving the things. It's sort of this backwards paradox where we can't get something without first having done it, but we don't really become the person that deserves it unless we've done it. It gets a little bit messy, but essentially it's hard to argue with the fact that if you're pushing the bar as far as you possibly can, you're going to basically achieve a whole lot more. There's an absolutely terrible expression that is astronomically incorrect, which is you got to aim for the moon, because even if you miss, you'll land among the stars. Again, someone obviously didn't study astronomy very well, but regardless, that's kind of the point. We need to aim really, really high so that even if we miss it, we're still better off than we were before. This is kind of the reason that I believe that everybody should set $1 million a year as their business goal. Because even if you set $1 million a year and you fall short by say 50%, well, you still brought in 500K. On the other hand, let's say your goal is 100 grand a year and you hit it. You made 100 grand. There's a $400,000 discrepancy there. And I can assure you that anybody that's ever hit $1 million has had the goal of $1 million or more. Same thing goes with 10 million, then 100 million, and continuing to go on from there. So maximizing potential, clearly number one for why you want to make sure that you're setting big, lofty goals and trying to grow your business as big as possible. Number two is economies of scale. Econ. We're gonna use some short form here. Essentially, the bigger that you get, the cheaper that things become to do. You now have more purchasing power, you have more team and more resources behind you. You can start buying enterprise level software. If you're doing any kind of physical products, you can look at it that way. But this gives you just a ton of potential to take advantage of larger cost savings. Not to mention when you show up at the table, whether it's through a negotiation or you're trying to purchase a new piece of software or you're even having conversations with potential clients, they're going to look at you and give you more clout to more credibility based on the size of the business behind you, rather than if you're a small solopreneur who's bootstrapping this and doing it all on your own. Speaking of clout and credibility, the next thing is attracting talent. Here's the deal. If you want to attract A players, you want to surround yourself with other A players, high achievers, goal-oriented people, then you need big goals, you need big dreams. Big, high-achieving people are not attracted to businesses and to other people that are playing it safe and playing it really small. So if you want to surround yourself with other people that are going places, you need to sell them on the vision that you have for yourself, that you're going places as well. And you simply can't fake this. In fact, if you look at any successful mastermind or circle of friends or network or anything like that, you're going to find similarities between them, that they all have similar income either currently or where they're trying to get to. They're all working on big projects. Fact of the matter is, you just don't attract high achieving people with really small goals. Number 4 is diversification. Now, this was kind of a double-edged sword because one of the biggest mistakes that businesses, big and small, make is they diversify too quickly and they end up spreading themselves way too thin. But the fact of the matter is, as you start to grow, you're going to be able to expand your services across different clients, across different service lines, across different areas, and this is going to give you a ton more opportunity, as well as help to mitigate any risk of changes in seasonality, changes in market conditions, changes in political environments, whether there's recessions or inflation or whatever it is. When you've got more growth, you can sort of buffer things out, especially if you've done it wisely and you've got a healthy amount of cash flow coming in. All right, next, let's talk about legacy. You can't talk about legacy without talking about the depressing fact that we're all gonna die. And when we do, well, it'd sure be a lot nicer to leave something that actually stands for something in the halls of time. Whether this is a large enough business that bears your name, whether it's books that you've written, videos that you've made, podcasts you've recorded, content you've created, or simply the amount of people that you've helped, which we're obviously gonna talk about in just a minute. Legacy is a powerful one, and you're not able to make the same kind of impact if you're staying small than if you're focused on growth. It's just common sense. I mean, let's even look at it completely objectively. If you've got a business that's doing $1 million a year and you're serving 100 people, well, you're making an impact on the lives of 100 people. On the other hand, if you've got a business that's serving 10 people and making 100 grand a year, well, 10 people impact, so easy math. Next up is market leadership. Some of these are going to cross over, as market leadership also leads into a little bit of attracting talent, a little bit of diversification, essentially maximizing potential. But what this allows you to do is to essentially move yourself to the top of the pyramid. And basically ROI, or profits or revenues, they're not distributed equally across all of the businesses in a different industry or market or segment or sector. There are completely weighted to the top 1 or 2 businesses getting the bulk of the profits and of the revenue. It's called the law of duality. This is talked about a lot in the book called Positioning. There's a ton on it, but essentially you do want to be at the top of the food chain, not even necessarily the main person at the top, but even in the top 10%, you're going to get disproportionately better rewards and better outcomes for the same amount of effort that you put in. All right, moving on. Next is innovation. We could also call this development, we could call it R&D, but the fact is that growth does take time, does take energy, and it does take money. You simply cannot invest in your growth and the growth of your business if you're trying to stay small, cut every corner, making sure that you're never overspending, you're never pushing yourself too far. I can tell you that there is a clear line in the growth of my agencies from the point that I basically decided to go as big and as profitable and help as many people as I could. What ended up happening is we attracted more clients. This brought in more cash flow. This This led to attracting better talent, not only internally inside of the agency, but also externally by attracting better clients. That money then allowed us to use different softwares, to invest more heavily in our outreach, to invest more heavily in our marketing, which created this sort of perpetual cycle, this flywheel effect where we made more money, we invested more money, we therefore made even more money, we therefore attracted better clients, which made us more money, which allowed us to invest. And all of this sort of came down to this ability to innovate and to iterate and to evolve along with our growth. Speaking of this magical flywheel, another benefit here is brand recognition. There we go, brand recognition. The beauty of brand recognition just cannot be said enough. It is one of the most powerful assets that you can have. And the only way to build a brand is to show up consistently in front of enough people, enough times, with a similar message, attitude, belief, mission, values, all of that thing. And then it becomes almost this brute force mentality of just showing up again and again, consistency, surviving, living through. Business is kind of a war of attrition in many ways because the failure rate for so many new businesses and so many new agencies is just so astronomically high. Simply surviving is one of the best ways to build a brand. Just stick it out for as long as possible. And of course, based on all of these factors, this is why we want to grow, because staying small, we've just eliminated all of our buffer and all of our margin. It makes us, puts us in a very dangerous position rather than making sure that we've got enough cash flow, we've got enough talent and team and brand and innovation and all of that to ensure that cash is going to keep coming in and you're going to create an asset that increases in value significantly over time. All right, moving on, expanding customer base. Expanding customer base. Again, a lot of overlap here, but the beauty of an expanding customer base is that it allows you to not only diversify your risk, but increase your profit potential. I can tell you that probably the most dangerous position any business, any agency could ever be in is having one customer, maybe two clients, something like that. You're in a horribly dangerous position because if something changes in their business through no fault of your own and they decide to pack things up and call it quits with you, you could be out 50 to 100% of your entire revenue. On the other hand, if you've got 10 clients, 20 clients, 50 clients, 100 clients. If one of them leaves, that's fine. You replace it. You can build a wait list thanks to all of these other things. So now you can be even more selective of the clients that you work with. And when that happens, you get them better results, they like you more, you make more money, you grow in the business, everything just gets better. And then I think the final one to tie this all off, which circles back to the main one up here of maximizing potential, is this personal development aspect. See, what's really interesting about business and about trying to grow is that, like I mentioned right at maximizing potential, is that it's going to force you to become a person that's capable of achieving those things. So you don't earn $1 million, you become a person capable of earning $1 million. And the beauty of that is, well, the byproduct's $1 million, but the secondary byproduct is the ability to do it again and again and again, because you've now become a person capable of achieving those things. If we look back at my agency journey from when I first got started, living in a tiny apartment with no money, living on rice and beans and wondering if I was even going to be able to survive, much less my agency, and you fast forward to the person that I've had to become to build multiple seven-figure agencies, make millions of dollars, impact thousands of lives, it's completely different. I'm almost unrecognizable for the person that I was back then. And all of that I can credit to trying to grow, trying to provide as much value as possible, trying to impact as many lives in as positive a way as possible, trying to grow the agency, to help more people, and then to share that wealth. So if that's not enough, let's talk about the dangers of staying small. So we'll switch out to the red pen. The first of which is missed opportunities. Missed opportunities. This goes hand in hand with attracting talent, with market leadership, with brand recognition, with an expanding customer base, all of those things. The fact is that when you're small, you're going to miss a ton of opportunities, not only through attracting better clients, but also through partnerships, through affiliate deals, through all of the other things, simply because this mindset it's too limited. It doesn't attract the kind of, we'll get a little bit woo-woo here for a second, but like it doesn't attract the kind of energy that this world wants to give you. Essentially, in this life, we can either be growing or we can be shrinking. And if we're consciously and actively committed to staying small and protecting and in kind of a scarcity mindset versus an abundance mindset, that's exactly what you're going to get. So you're not going to be as open and receptive to different opportunities. You're not going to be as desirable to the opportunities that come across your plate. And you're going to miss the really, really big potential opportunities because your mind is so set and so focused on trying to stay small or trying to protect what little you already already have. All right, the next thing is vulnerability to competition. This one should kind of go without saying, but it's worth beating this point up a little bit, and I'll tell you a story about one of my first agencies. When I first got started in the agency world back over a decade ago, my philosophy was that I was going to take what little profit that I had and reinvest it back in my agency to try to grow as much as possible. I first heard this quote from, I believe it was Dan Kennedy, that said, "Whoever can outspend your competition wins." And so what I did is I took a very small amount of money at the time, I believe it was like $5 a day, and I spent it on Facebook ads for my agency. And then slowly but surely, I started to increase the amount that I was spending on those ads as a result of the profit that I was getting. So I'd spend $5 a day and I'd invest $50, maybe $100, but I'd get a client. And then I would turn that and then I'd invest $10 a day. And then I'd get another client. Then it became $20, then $50, then $100. And sooner than later, I was spending hundreds of dollars a day acquiring clients at will, which meant that any new agency in the space simply couldn't afford to come onto the scene and start spending thousands of dollars on ads or on content or anything like that. And I started to build a really large gap, which allowed me to basically buy up the market share. Now, the good news for you is it doesn't matter where you're starting at today. You're going to be starting, especially if you were anything like me, from zero. But that doesn't mean that you can't invest time, energy, or money into your agency, into your outreach, into creating content in order to create a gap that's going to allow you to become essentially bulletproof to your competition. Okay, another danger, limited resources. This one kind of goes without saying, but if you've got an agency making $1 million a year and an agency making $100 grand a year, well, clearly the agency that's making $1 million a year has more resources to invest in their own marketing, in their own education, in their own growth, in attracting talent, in proving to clients that they're worth it, in acquiring more and better clients, being willing to pay more to do that, being willing to provide a better service by onboarding them properly, sending them gifts, all of these different things. None of that is possible if we're focused on staying small. Next is perhaps one of the most common and dangerous one, which is complacency kills. There we go. Complacency kills. Again, at risk of sounding a little bit repetitive here, we can either be growing or we can be shrinking. There really is no staying still. And if we hit a point where we've hit all that we need to do, let's say that we've determined we need $5,000 a month to pay all our bills and cover our rent and our food and our car and all that, and we stop there, well, a dangerous thing happens when you hit $5 grand a month. You stop trying. You stop doing all of the things that got you to that point. You stop doing outreach. You stop following through. You become complacent and comfortable. And if you become comfortable, you start to atrophy, and so does your business. We need goals, and we need powerful goals, and we need big goals, motivating goals, something that drives us in order to keep growing and keep achieving. There is no real staying small. The problem with it is that it basically just equates to shrinking. It's very hard to maintain the exact level that you have. You're going to find that the feast and famine cycles, the ups and downs, are going to become more pronounced. And this leads to a significant amount more stress, because here we can afford a few little ups and downs as we're continuing to grow, but here the ups and downs are catastrophic because we simply don't have the resources baked in by focusing on growth. All right, next is impact and influence. This one might not sound like a big deal if you have no intention of becoming famous or an influencer or any of that nonsense. I would actually strongly advise against it. There's a powerful philosophy called stealth wealth that essentially ensures that we make as much money as possible behind the scenes so that we don't become the victims of some of the weirdos that are out there. But even if we're not after massive influencer status, we still simply cannot make the same level of impact as we can if we're focused on growing and building a more profitable company. Good example here. If you've got someone that walks into a room and starts speaking to people about business growth, about strategies, about life, about success, and we find out that they're operating a billion-dollar company, we're going to pay attention to them. We're going to respect their opinion. We're going to listen to what they have to say, even in matters outside of business where they may not even be qualified. On the other hand, if we've got someone that walks in barely making 30 grand a year with a goal of making 50 or 100 grand a year, we're going to ignore most of that, which is unfortunate because they may be great parents. They may be really good with health or with nutrition or with relationships or whatever it is, but because they simply don't have that report behind them, that success, that impact, a lot less of what they say gets taken as seriously as it should. All right, the next point was difficulty in raising capital, but I'm going to say difficulty in later growth and everything, essentially everything. Everything is harder when you're playing small. All of these things become harder because we lose out on all of them. We lose out on the brand recognition. We lose out on market leadership. We're not really building a legacy, so it's hard for us to feel motivated about doing the challenging things that are necessary to run a profitable business or agency. We lose economies of scale. We don't attract the right talent. All of these things become significantly more difficult, which is why it's this completely counterintuitive approach, something that I completely disagree with in basically every way, is that one of the arguments made for staying small is that it's going to be easier. It's going to be more fun. You're going to have better work-life balance. But that's complete bullshit. Because the fact is, if you're staying small, you're doing everything yourself. On the other hand, when you're growing a business, you're attracting people, you're raising more money, you're essentially providing a bigger impact and making a better impact on the lives of the people that you serve, you get better people, you're able to delegate more, you're able to focus on the things that actually matter and actually drive your business forward. Your life gets significantly better in every way, shape, and form. Man, that was a bit of a rant there. All right, moving on. The next one is limited. We could say legacy, we could say impact, we could say reputation, we could say brand. It's going to be a little bit squiggly there, but essentially limited everything. When we're focused on staying small, again, all of these points get flushed down the toilet. We limit our potential, the power of our message, the legacy that we're leaving, the amount of people that we can serve, the level that we can serve them. It just ain't fun. All right, next, let's get a little more tactical here, and we'll say risk of obsolescence. Rather than spelling it, we're going to just say obs. Risk of obsolescence. Essentially, if we're not innovating, if we're not reinvesting, if we're not focusing on growth, both for your business and your agency and also yourself as a person, well, the risk of becoming outdated and irrelevant and left behind are insanely high, simply because we're not prioritizing making sure that we are growing. And again, we can either be growing or we can be dying. I don't think I need to say too much more about that one. All right, limiting your network. This one's important. There's a great quote by Jim Rohn that says you become the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time around. Now, I am by no means suggesting that rich people are better than poor people. That's not it at all. I am suggesting that there is something very powerful about being surrounded by a group of goal-oriented, high-achieving people, money aside. We can say the same thing about sports. If they're dedicated to family, if they're dedicated to some kind of hobby, there is an energy, and it's very contagious when you're around people that are going places. They have a mission, they have a vision, they have things that they're trying to do and things that they're trying to accomplish, opposed to the alternative, which is just most people, the average person who's just kind of like coasting, kicking through life, relaxing a little bit, watching way too much Netflix, never really going anywhere. I mean, again, think of the different kinds of people that you've interacted with. The kind of person that stands tall, they're proud, they talk loudly and clearly, they're clearly going somewhere, they believe in what they do, versus everybody else. Well, unless you're one of these people that's focused on growth, it is very hard to get in the circles of other high-achieving people. It's not that they're rude, they're not going to be mean to you. Most high achievers, essentially, actually that's a bit of a side note here, but if you're ever worried about people criticizing you or saying that you're not good enough or anything like that, no high-achieving people, they don't do that. That's just not how it works. The only people to criticize other people for trying and putting themselves out there are people that are basically jealous, or miserable, or scared of you embarrassing them by you actually living out your dreams. But I digress. The point of the matter is, if you want to be around energetic, enthusiastic, passionate people that care about what they do, you need to be one of those people as well. Otherwise, those people, the energetic, passionate, enthusiastic people that care about what they do, they won't be rude, but they'll ignore you. Or they'll quickly try to get out of a situation or a conversation or a relationship so that they can focus where they're going to have the highest impact. Again, doesn't matter whether we're talking about just money or sports or relationships or anything like that. High-achieving people are attracted to other high-achieving people. Full stop. All right, and then to bring this all home, I think this one is the most painful and certainly the one that I think about all the time whenever I am, oh man, let's write first, talk after. That should say restricting your potential, but bear with my handwriting. This to me is the one that is the thing that sort of puts the fear of death in me, which is this, maybe you've heard the story, but the worst thing that could happen is you get to the end of your life and you meet the person that you could have been. And you realize just how you've wasted your time, your energy, your resources. You never took the risks you should have done. You never put in the work that you should have done. And you see this person that's you, and who you could have been. And I don't know about you, but that scares the living hell out of me. So I want to make sure that I'm fulfilling whatever potential I have inside of me, and I would strongly suggest that you pursue the same. Not just so that you can get to the end of your life and look back and feel proud, but also for the kind of person that you're going to become along the way, the kind of impact that you're going to be able to make along the way, not just for yourself, but for the lives of your friends and your family and your clients and basically everyone else that you interact with. So with that said, clearly, I want you to grow. I think you should as well. I think it's a worthy and noble goal that's going to empower you to become a better person and make a bigger impact on not just yourself, but everyone that I've said before. If you do decide that staying small is for you, just be very careful. Make sure that this is a decision for you and that you've essentially weighed and measured the trade-offs that you're going to have to make by taking this very dangerous position. All right, with all that said, let's wrap it there. I'll link up a video right here if you're interested in some more tips, and otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.